Hi, first grade friends. Today we are going to start a new module in reading. Last week in reading before spring break, you might have noticed that you started reading lots of different versions of one of our favorites, Cinderella. Now, boys, I know that you may not love the story of Cinderella, but I know that we did read one last week called Prince Cinders, and there's going to be lots of different versions that we're going to be reading that you may also find interesting. Our essential question for this module is, why do people around the world admire Cinderella? We're going to be reading stories from all over the world about a version or a different way of telling the same story of Cinderella. Now, our version today is called Glass Slipper, Gold Sandal, and it's a worldwide Cinderella. As we open to the front cover, we're going to see that there is a map. Now, you know this is a map of the world. And in our reading this year, we've already been to several of these countries. You remember we traveled to Colombia in South America when we read Waiting for the Biblioburro. We also traveled to the country of Africa when we read the continent of Africa when we read Me, Jane. When we read The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind, we were in a different country of Africa, in Malawi. Do you remember we've also read My Librarian is a Camel? And in that story, we read about all different countries and how they had traveling libraries. Some of the countries we talked about Canada. We also talked about Indonesia and some other countries over in Asia. So we have traveled around the world in reading this year, and we're going to continue to do that in this module. Today we're going to read Glass Slipper, Gold Sandal, a worldwide Cinderella. It's a Newbery Award-winning author. That means that this author won an award for writing this version of Cinderella. I want you to listen carefully, and you know that's our first day in our book, so we're going to be noticing and wondering, and you'll be able to do that in your Google Slides after I finish reading. So, Glass Slipper, Gold Sandal, a worldwide Cinderella. I'll turn my camera so you can see it well. Okay, here we go. Glass Slipper, Gold Sandal. Once upon a time, there lived a wealthy merchant whose wife had died. They had one daughter, gentle-eyed and good-hearted. Down the road lived a widow with two daughters. The woman gave the girl treats when she passed, pan dulce to eat, sugar cane to chew. The girl knew that her father was lonely. You should marry the widow, she told him. She's nice to me. The father had his doubts, but the girl kept asking. And how long can a father say no to his daughter? And so he and the widow were married. But no sooner had the stepmother moved in that she began to order the girl about. All day long she set her to weeding the rice fields and cooking and carrying. The woman gave the girl's room to her own lazy daughters. At night, the girl had nowhere else to sleep, but curled for warmth among the ashes on the hearth. Her stepmother allowed her only a few scraps of food. Her stomach howled. Then the girl recalled how she'd begged her father to marry. I picked up the scorpion with my own hand, she told herself. She vowed not to complain to her father and upset him. But when the girl was out tending the cattle, the beast heard her crying for hunger. Don't weep, said one of the cows, and the animal poured honey for her from its horn. And a fairy gave her figs and apricots, and Godfather Snake gave her rice. Once she was eating well and proper, the girl bloomed into a right rare beauty. The stepmother couldn't fathom it, and meanwhile her own sour-faced daughters would curdle the milk if they looked at it twice. One day it was announced far and wide that the great king was in search of a queen. All the unmarried women dressed in their finest robes and set off for the palace. To make sure the girl couldn't go, the stepmother threw an apron full of lentils into the ashes and ordered her to pick them all out. "And scour all the kitchen pots, too," she hollered. As soon as the stepmother left with her daughters, the girl burst into tears. Outside, the sparrows heard her. In they flew and pecked the lentils from the ashes. Then a witch woman came in and spoke a spell. Up jumped the pots and scoured themselves. The girl was free to go, but she had nothing to wear except rags. Then she looked in her mother's sewing basket. Then she reached into the hole in the birch tree. Then a crocodile swam up to the surface, and in its mouth was a sarong made of gold, a cloak sewn of kingfisher feathers, and a kimono red as sunset. And on the girl's feet appeared a pair of glass slippers, diamond anklets, sandals of gold. If you notice, it says a different country: France, India, Iraq, all different countries. "Walk to the ball," said the girl's auntie. "Never!" She picked a big round breadfruit from a tree and tapped it 3 times with her wand. Quick as the blink of a firefly, that breadfruit changed itself into a coach. This says West Indies. When she made her entrance, so great was her beauty that the musicians stopped playing. No one, not even her stepmother, knew who the beautiful stranger was. This says Poland. All night the girl danced with the headman's son until the first rooster crowed. Then she remembered she had to leave at once. Here they are in Indonesia. She leaped into her mare's golden saddle. "Who are you?" called the prince. The girl had no time for words and charged down the lane. The prince sprinted beside her, got a hand on her shoe, and the dainty thing pulled off in his fingers as she galloped away. Ireland. The king declared he would marry the golden shoe's owner. He ordered the women of the court to try it on, but none could squeeze inside it, and so he went searching for its owner up and down mountains. China, Iran, and across the deserts, until he came to the stepmother's house. When she saw him approach, she grabbed her stepdaughter, wrapped her in a mat, and hid her. This is in Laos. "I'm certain the shoe will fit one of my fine favored girls," said the woman, grunting and sweating. Her older daughter tried to wrestle the shoe on, but couldn't. Neither could the younger. France. Just then a rooster began to crow. They put the ugly one on show and hid the beauty down below. Iraq. The girl was brought forward. "Don't waste your time with that one," said the stepmother. But the magistrate looked into the girl's eyes, took the straw sandal in his hand, and slipped it onto her foot with ease. She and the great king were married at the palace, where the guests feasted on mangoes and melons. Zimbabwe. Rice seasoned with almonds. India. Beef stew and lamb stew. Ireland. Anise cookies and custards. Mexico. Such a wedding it was, and such an adoring couple. Iraq. And such a wondrous turn of events. Korea. That people today are still telling the story. I hope you enjoyed this story, Glass Slipper, Gold Sandal. I want you to take some time now to record what is something that you noticed about this story. It could be more than one thing. I would love to at least see 2 things that you noticed and 2 things that you're still wondering. We know as readers, we always want to be asking questions. So what are some questions that you have? Remember to use your question words and record 2 things that you are wondering. I'll see you later.